Will the House come to order? Mr. Clerk.
Aloha and good afternoon. Today's invocation will be delivered by Representative D. Morikawa. Will the members who wish to participate please rise?
Please stay seated. Thank you. So great to see people back in the galleries again. Welcome. Some of you remember my little Hanai daughter, Naomi. She came into my life at age 5, and I became her guardian after her dad passed away a couple of years later. Because her mom was incarcerated, I promised to take care of her until mom was released. Naomi wasn't afraid to perform in front of people. At age 6, she did the opening day Pledge of Allegiance. At 7 years old, she did the fight song as an invocation. Last year, at age 10, she did sign language to John Lennon's song, Imagine. Well, I'm happy to report that Naomi is now reunited with her mom, but I'm left doing my own invocation. So a month ago, when I got notice for my invocation day, I asked my staff for ideas. And Connor Moraragan composed this poem, which I think is very relevant for today. Thank you, Connor. One person is capable of many things, but a people are capable of anything. We guide those who were led astray, and we aid them in their dismay. To protect a future we have not yet met, and to create one without regret, we lead with confidence and fulfill our roles. We will come together to achieve our goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Morikawa. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Ayu, Mr. Alcos, Ms. Amato, Ms. Bellotti, Mr. Chun, Ms. Cochran, Mr. Evslin, Mr. Ganadin, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Garrett, Mr. Gates, Mr. Hashem, Mr. Hashimoto, Mr. Holt, Ms. Hussey Burdick, Ms. Ichiyama, Mr. Iligan, Ms. Kahaloa, Ms. Capella, Mr. Kila,
Excused.
Ms. Kitagawa, Mr. Kobayashi,
Excused.
Mr. Kong, Ms. Lachika, Ms. Lamosao, Ms. Lowen, Ms. Martin, Ms. Martinez, Mr. Matayoshi, Ms. Matsumoto, Mr. Mizuno, Ms. Morikawa, Ms. Nakamura, Mr. Nakashima, Mr. Nishimoto, Mr. Onishi, Ms. Peruso,
Excused.
Mr. Pirik, Ms. Poepoe, Mr. Quinlan, Mr. Sayama, Ms. Souza, Mr. Takayama, Ms. Takenouchi, Mr. Tam, Mr. Tarnas, Mr. Todd, Mr. Ward, Mr. Woodson, Mr. Yamashita, Mr. Speaker.
Present.
Mr. Speaker, 48 members are present, 3 are excused.
Item 2, reading of the Journal, Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, may this matter be deferred.
So ordered. Item 3, messages. Mr. Clerk, are there any messages from the Governor?
Mr. Speaker, there are none.
Item 4, Mr. Clerk, are there any Senate communications?
Mr. Speaker, there are none.
All right, members, are there any introductions? Representative Quinlan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the gallery today, we have the two most important people in my life, my wife, Daniela, and my son, Maxim. Maxim, stand up and wave to Daddy. Maxim, can you stand? Look at Daddy. Welcome to your House of Representatives.
Representative Matayoshi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today in the gallery, we have a number of schools that have come to the Capitol for Take Down Tobacco Day. As I read your schools, please stand up. And to be recognized, Highlands Intermediate School, Honoka'a High School, Kailua High School, Kamehameha, you guys can keep standing. Kamehameha School's Hawaii Campus, Kauai High School, Kea'au High School, Lelehua High School, McKinley High School, Pearl City High School, Punahou School, Roosevelt High School, and UH Lab School. Welcome to your House of Representatives.
Representative Kong.
Thank you, Speaker. During the spring break, I have had the honor of hosting two of our finest, not students, I would say young adults, gentlemen. And the first is Timothy Kim, who is a sophomore from Punahou, and we have Timothy Tupo Tuipulotu, a senior from St. Louis. Thank you. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
Representative Evelyn.
Thank you, Speaker. I'd like to introduce here today we have Valerie Saiki, who is my good friend and the Coalition Coordinator on Kauai for the Coalition for Tobacco-Free Hawaii. We also have Tom Lindsay, who is a longtime supporter and advocate for Tobacco-Free Hawaii. And they are here with the students from my alma mater, Kauai High School, who can, if you guys can all stand again, from Kauai High. Welcome to your House of Representatives.
Representative Chica.
Mahalo, Speaker. It is my honor and privilege to introduce my former colleagues in the gallery joining us today. Please rise when your name is called. Ms. Jessica Yamauchi, Ms. Peggy Mirzwa, Ms. May Rose de la Cruz, Ms. Kealoha Madriaga, and Ms. Val Saiki. Mahalo for the opportunity to bring the students over, especially from the neighbor islands, and for organizing today's event. And I'd also like to recognize the following students: Michaela Oshiro and Jacqueline Pobre from Pearl Highlands Intermediate, and finally Logan from Mililani High School. Are you there? Okay. Permission, Speaker, to insert their names into the journal, but let's please give them a round of applause. Welcome to your House of Representatives. Thank you. One more, Speaker. I have one more introduction to make. In the gallery today is Dr. Keith Kawamura. Dr. Kawamura, please stand. He is here to support his wife, Stacy. He is an optometrist and has provided eye care services to our residents for over 15 years. He and his wife reside in Waipio Gentry along with their sons, Ian and Adam. And they have two clinics, one in Honolulu and one in Wahoo. Welcome, Mr. Keith, to your House of Representatives. And permission, Speaker, to introduce their names, put their names into the journal.
So ordered. Representative Lamasau.
Mr. Speaker, we have some very important advocates here in the gallery today. I want to recognize that today, although it was yesterday, we honored the Equal Pay Day for women. So in the gallery, we have advocates from the American Association of University Women of Hawaii. If you folks can stand. And we also have professional surfer Keala Kennelly, who is also here with them. Thank you so much. Welcome to your House of Representatives. Aloha.
Representative Bellotti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's such a wonderful week to have spring break with the public schools. Visiting in my district is Ava Yamanaka from Hilo High School. If she could please stand to be recognized. She's the granddaughter of a district constituent and a good friend of the House, Gary Slovin. She wants to be an attorney, and I'm encouraging her to look at becoming a legislator. Welcome to your House of Representatives, Ava.
Representative Ishiyama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Wanted to welcome in the gallery today, we have advocates from Planned Parenthood, including their state director, Jen Wilbur, and their teen council. If the folks from Planned Parenthood could please rise and be recognized by the House of Representatives. And permission to insert their names into the journal. Thank you, Speaker.
So ordered. Representative Capella.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the gallery today, I am very excited to introduce my Keiki Caucus intern, Lehua Norris. She is a junior at Konoaina High School. Along with her, thanks to spring break, we have other members of the Keiki Caucus internship program. So please, please rise along with their instructor, Tammy. Thank you for all of the work that you do, and welcome to your House of Representatives.
Representative Takanuchi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I noticed my staff snuck down here today, so I thought I'd like to recognize them. I know it's their first time on the floor, so if they would please stand. We have Shirley Templo, Aaliyah Paper, and our #1 volunteer, also my mom, Colleen Takanauchi. Welcome to your House of Representatives.
Representative Poi Poi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the gallery, we have Giselle Rodriguez. She's a junior at Kakalike High School on Maui and serves as our District 13 intern for this legislative session. Giselle was born and raised in Haiku on the island of Maui and aspires to one day run for office. As a minority within her community, Giselle is inspired to create change so that families don't have to face similar struggles to the ones she saw growing up. In her free time, she enjoys volunteering in her community. Welcome to your House of Representatives, Giselle.
Are there further introductions, members? Representative Matsumoto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd also like to recognize our Keiki Caucus intern. I've introduced him once before because he was here for crossover, but please stand up. We have Diego Carranza. He's from Lelehua High School, and he's been doing a lot of work in our office. He's been coming to the town halls in our district, so he's been doing a lot of work. So if we can welcome again to your House of Representatives.
Representative Kong.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker. The Representative Lily have made me do this, actually. I need to introduce my staff now. We have my office manager, Kevin Wilson, and my committee clerk, Yehenara Sukop. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
Representative Kahaloa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we have a guest representing Healthcare and Tobacco-Free Coalition, my high school classmate, Shani Kai Gakayan. If you rise, welcome to your House of Representatives.
Are there further introductions, members? If not, we're on item 5, floor presentations. Mr. Clerk, are there any floor presentations?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we have one floor presentation today. House Resolution number 215, congratulating the 2022 National Distinguished Principal, 2022 National Outstanding Assistant Principal, 2022 Golden Key Awardee, 2022 Outstanding Library Service Awardee, and the 2023 Hawaii School Counselor of the Year. This resolution is offered by Representative Woodson.
Representative Woodson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to adopt this resolution.
Representative Hashem.
I second the motion.
All right, members, is there any discussion? Representative Hashem.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. On behalf of the Hawaii House of Representatives, I would like to once again express our sincere thanks to those who guide our keiki through the early years of their lives in Hawaii's schools and for their exceptional contribution to our community. On this third day of Education Week, we honor outstanding school administrators, faculty members, and librarians. We recognize awardees of the National Association of Elementary School Principals, the Hawaii Association of School Librarians, and the Hawaii School Counselors Association. These awards promote the work of school staff who have set high standards for instruction, student achievement, character, and service to call attention to the fundamental importance of their roles in Hawaii schools. The faculty members being honored today are unwavering in their efforts to ensure that our youth are well equipped to excel in pursuit of their goals. To introduce our first honoree, I yield to the representative from Mililani.
Representative Matsumoto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is my honor to recognize the principal of Waipahu Elementary School. If you can please rise, Mr. Aaron Tominaga. He is the 2022 Hawaii National Distinguished Principal. Mr. Tominaga has been a dedicated educator for over 25 years. He started as a teacher at Waipahu High School, later working as a teacher at Pearl City High School, and subsequently serving as the principal at both Pearl City High School and Lehua Elementary School. Mr. Tominaga has served as principal of Waipahu Elementary School since 2018, where he passionately leads over 950 students, of which nearly 50% are English language learners. Mr. Tominaga, in collaboration with Waipahu Elementary School's devoted teachers, has developed a comprehensive system to track and monitor English language arts and math progress to deepen support for students. He embraces an effective hands-on approach through regular meetings between teachers and curriculum coaches, differentiated professional development for teachers, and classroom data sharing to track students' academic progress, resulting in a notable decline in at-risk students in both language arts and math for the past 2 years. Aaron Tominaga strives for success in all aspects of his students' educational journey. If we can give him a big round of applause. I now yield to my colleague from Mililani and Waipio.
Representative LaChica.
Mahalo, Mr. Speaker. It is my pleasure to recognize the 2022 National Outstanding Assistant Principal, Ms. Stacy Kawamura. Please rise. Ms. Kawamura has been an educator for nearly 20 years. She now serves as the principal at Honowai Elementary. The first 11 years of Ms. Kawamura's career were spent as a secondary teacher at Kapolei High School and Pearl City High School, where she taught Japanese, peer education, and where she also served as the grant and testing coordinator. In the last 7 years, she has served as Waikele Elementary School's vice principal, where she has been instrumental in developing the school's National Distinguished Academy Pathway Program, which has expanded to include CTE courses that align with Waipahu Complex's commitment to career readiness and their mission to establish pathways to college. Ms. Kawamura helped establish Waikele as the nation's first elementary academy pathway program, exposing primary school students to a variety of career opportunities and easing their transition to secondary schools. Stacy Kawamura is an exceptional leader. Not only has she successfully built an effective educational framework based on real-world experiences, but she also nurtures professional growth among her colleagues and prioritizes fostering a collaborative school culture that is deeply connected to family and community. Members, please join me in recognizing for her service and leadership, Principal Kawamura. I yield to my colleague from Liliha.
Representative Takanuchi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my honor today to recognize Shelley Lau as the winner of the 2022 Hawaii Association of School Librarians Golden Key Award. A dedicated librarian at Ainahaina Elementary School, Ms. Lau previously served as webmaster for the Hawaii Association of School Librarians, taught online professional development courses on ebooks for Hawaii Department of Education educators, participated in Hawaii Department of Education School Library Media Service events and the numerous Hawaii Association of School Librarian conferences. In addition to supporting the Hawaii Association of School Librarians, Ms. Lau has been an invaluable resource to her profession by nurturing and preparing future school librarians by mentoring and inspiring many librarians throughout her career. Ms. Lau's school-wide literacy programs highlight the value of having a certified school librarian who understands the value of effective educational programming, and she is instrumental in assisting students in learning critical thinking, effective communication, and self-management and research skills. Congratulations, Ms. Lau. Can we all give her a round of applause? And Speaker, I yield to my colleague from Wailai Kahala.
Representative Hashem.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am proud to recognize the winner of the 2022 Outstanding Library Service Award, Ms. Joanna Dunn. Please stand. Ms. Dunn has served Hawaii students for over 3 decades as a teacher, technology coordinator, and resource teacher at various schools in Hawaii, including Aiea High School, Waipahu High School, and Blanche Pope Elementary School. Ms. Dunn has been the educational specialist for library media services in the Department of Education's Office of Curriculum and Instructional Design for the past 8 years, where she works to promote and support innovative school library media programs and services as valuable resources for the students and teacher. She continually seeks ways to expand library services, organizes professional development opportunities for librarians, and communications to administrators the necessity of school librarians. I yield to my colleague from Pro City. Please give a hand to Ms. Dunn. Thank you. Speaker, I yield to my colleague from Pro City.
Representative Takayama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to congratulate the 2023 Hawaii School Counselor of the Year, Shelley Chang. If you'd please rise. For the past 18 years, Ms. Chang has worked as counselor at Ka'imiloa Elementary School, where her focus on the health and wellness of students and the school community has won her and her school national recognition. Through Ms. Chang's innovative efforts, Ka'imiloa Elementary delivers comprehensive data-informed school counseling programs and activities aligned with the national model of the American School Counselor Association. Please join me in congratulating Counselor of the Year and Pearl City resident, Shelley Chang. Mr. Speaker, at this time, I'd also like to recognize someone who unfortunately could not be with us today, the 2022 Hawaii State Principal of the Year, Principal of New Valley Middle School, Laura Ahn. On behalf of the House of Representatives, I'd also like to thank all the guests in the gallery who have joined us to recognize these outstanding school faculty members and administrators. Please, welcome to your House of Representatives. Please, colleagues, let's give them a big round of applause. Mr. Speaker, I ask that their names be inserted in the journal.
So ordered. All right, members, we'll take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. The motion is carried. Representative Woodson, could you please proceed with the certificate and lay presentation? The chair will call a recess to allow the members of the House to meet and congratulate the honorees. Recess. With all come to order, members were on item 6 for the motion to suspend Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules of the House in order to consider certain House bills for third reading by consent calendar.
Representative Garcia.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion is carried. For the motion to pass third reading, Representative Nakamura.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adopt Standing Committee Reports numbers 1220 and 1221 as listed on page 2, and that the accompanying House bills as amended pass third reading.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Great, members, is there any discussion? Representative Yamashita.
Mr. Speaker, I stand in support of this measure.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much. That's it. Thank you.
All right, is there additional? Members, is there additional? That was just a test. Is there additional discussion? Representative Ward.
Mr. Speaker, I stand in support of this measure with comments.
This is on STR 1220. STR 1220.
No, 1222, sir.
No, we're on 1220.
I withdraw my speech.
Okay. Is there any discussion on STR 1220 or 1221? If not, we'll take the vote. Representative Morikawa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the measures before us, all majority members vote aye.
Representative Garcia.
On the measures before us, all minority members vote aye.
All right, members, have all votes been cast? If so, said measures pass third reading. Representative Nakamura.
Mr. Speaker, I move that House Bill number 300 HD1 as listed on page 2 pass third reading.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? Representative Yamashita.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Because I rarely speak on the floor, if you would allow me a little latitude on this part, because I hardly get to get remarks into the journal, I'd like to wish my wife a happy 39th anniversary. Mr. Speaker, at this time I'd like to also thank the people that helped me put this budget together. The person that previously sat in this chair, I thank her for her counsel and her support through this process. I also like to thank, second of all, is our vice chair of the Finance Committee. You know, I think through the first half we have become a great team. We have put in long hours working on agendas, going through the budget several times, and through the hearing process, she has kept me focused because I tend to multitask and lose my place, so she kind of helped me keep everything. So thank you very much. And I'd also like to thank our CIP chair, who is doing a wonderful job, because I know what it takes to do that job. There's a lot of time and effort you have to put into every single item and every single ask. So thank you. You did a great job. And of course, Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to thank the members of the Finance Committee. You sat through over 300 bills. You gave up your weekend to go over the budget with us, and I appreciate your homework and what you have contributed to the process, so thank you. And Mr. Speaker, I also like to thank you and your leadership team for your support through this process and also your guidance, so thank you very much. Thank you. And the others that are very important to this process is the committee chairs. So we asked you for input, we asked you for what priorities are to come to finance, and we appreciate all the input and look forward to working with you on the most important part of the budget, which is the end. Okay, Mr. Speaker, last but by no means least, all of this work could not be done without staff. And in the gallery today is the budget staff, led by our budget chief, John Karamura. Put your crown on, John. Okay. Also up there is, let me go in order, that's Christine, Becca, Jamie, Heath, David, and Jay Dean. So thank all of them. Mr. Speaker, unprecedented revenue growth in 2022, over 29%, catapulted collections and provided us with opportunity. Opportunity to restore funding for critical programs that were cut during the pandemic, opportunity to tackle outstanding one-time large funding opportunities like to the Department of Hawaiian Homeland's $600 million to get their beneficiaries off the wait list, and opportunities to improve the state's ability to withstand economic downturns by shoring up our budget reserves. To put that 29%, nearly 30% in perspective, the revenue of state government in 1968 was $258 million. $258 million was collected to operate our budget. It took 20 years to get to $2 billion in 1988. It took another 17 years, to 2005, to add another $2 billion to hit $4 billion. And the other $2 billion took another 8 years when we broke $6 billion. And then it took 7 years, that was in 2013, and then it took 7 years to get to 2020 to get to 8.
Speaker, I yield my time.
Thank you, going fast. To get to $8 billion. And guess what happened after that, Mr. Speaker? In just 2 years, with a raging pandemic, revenues went from $8.2 million to $10.2 million in just 2 years. That, Mr. Speaker, is not sustainable. The fact is, after this incredible revenue spike, the current projection for the next $2 billion is in 2029 and 2030. So what caused the spike? To put it simply, unprecedented federal stimulus. Mr. Speaker, national data confirms that what's happening in Hawaii is happening in other states. Various factors of high expected revenue conditions, sorry, I gotta bring this closer. Revenue conditions and revenue projections, unpredictable federal aid help support business and unemployed workers, quicker than anticipated recovery from the stock market and employment, the welfare decision that gave the states the authority to collect taxes from out-of-state online sales, and job stability in high-wage professionals that pivoted to remote working. According to Pew, Physical 50 state trends and analysis, despite surprising strength in revenues, most economic experts expect the state's revenue to taper substantially in 2023. Although higher than expected tax revenue growth and record financial revenue improvements in the budget conditions, states must navigate to looming challenges, including slowing revenue growth in the economy and weakened monetary and policy tightening, historic high inflation, and tapering of federal COVID-19 funds. These things are already happening in our state, Mr. Speaker. The Council of Revenue met on March 7th, 2023, and their updated revenue forecast is a critical reminder that how quickly things can change. Pew cautions the slowing of revenue growth was prophetic. The Corps reduced the 2023 forecast from 5.5% to 2%. And in FY24, it lowered it also to 5% to 4%. This change means we have $1.2 billion less to spend over the next 3 years. A typical year, this budget draft would reflect more of our needs. However, this budget was presented to the legislature in December and was considered a steady state budget. This steady state budget increased spending $1.1 billion in 2024 and $846 million in FY25 for the reduction of pandemic and supplanting of federal funds, restoring the budget cuts during the pandemic, collective bargaining, and future shoring up of our rainy day fund. Mr. Speaker, the budget before you today evaluates that steady state recommendation and includes recommendations and modifications based on your Committee on Finance's work. Governor's Measures Number 1, submitted by the new administration on February 13th, proposed a spending increase of $743 million in FY24 and $677 million in FY25. Just 2 days ago, Governor's Measure Number 2, submitted to the legislature, added another $76 million in FY24 and $22 million in FY25.
Representative Nakashima.
Mr. Speaker, I yield my time.
Thank you very much. Your Committee on Finance did not have the necessary time to evaluate the request and will be working with the administration in the upcoming weeks to vet through those requests. Mr. Speaker, the glamour of spending is great. There are extraordinary amounts of demand for expanding state services, creating new programs, for pushing for comprehensive tax reforms and tax credits. The revenue picture has dramatically changed, and risk exists if we are not cautious on how we work on our spending plan. Mr. Speaker, in the past, one of the arsenals in government's toolbox is to jumpstart the economy, is to increase the spending of capital projects. It is highly unlikely that this strategy will yield positive results if there is a downturn in our economy in the near future. During the pre-session budget briefing, the economists informed us that inflation and supply chain issues are artificially increasing the cost of construction due to the current volume. Currently, the state is recently, a department tasked with building affordable housing indicated that it would need $50 million for existing projects. Mr. Speaker, that's $50 million for existing projects and yields zero new affordable housing. Mr. Speaker, $50 million, zero more housing. That is inflation. That is supply chain issues. Mr. Speaker, the majority of the problem is called for affordability and affordable housing, $50 million, and we get nothing. That is very concerning. The Constitution of the State of Hawaii provides that, notwithstanding any provision contrary to the the legislature shall establish a general fund expenditure ceiling which shall limit the rate of growth of general fund appropriations to the estimate rate of growth of the state's economy as provided by law. If we exceed the expenditure ceiling and we have to make a declaration of the appropriation. And we have to pass that measure by 2/3 vote. Last year, Mr. Speaker, for example, we exceeded the ceiling for 2023 by $1 billion, or 10%. The budget submitted by the administration, if adopted in whole, will cause the expenditure ceiling to exceed by approximately $230.9 million in FY24 and will be within the budget expenditure ceiling in FY25. Mr. Speaker, everything isn't doom and gloom. On a positive note, budget reserves are strong, and we can accomplish a lot if we're strategic. Even though we're going to exceed this budget ceiling in 2023, because of the appropriation, the money, what we did was one-time infusion for recurring needs, such as, this is what we did, $200 million provided for infrastructure for classrooms and early learning for pre-kindergarten, $256 million for repair maintenance backlogs for schools, $500 million to strengthen our emergency budget relief, and $600 million to the Department of Homeland for their backlog. All these initiatives, Mr. Speaker, will not happen overnight and will happen over time. Mr. Speaker, this budget proposes a continuing effort to fix major problems in the state while we still have incredible opportunity to invest. The budget submitted by the administration on December indicates that the general fund deferred maintenance backlog is
Representative Siama.
Mr. Speaker, I yield my time.
The deferred maintenance backlog is $1.2 billion. It's long past time that we tackle this neglected ongoing problem. The budget proposed to set aside $1 billion for an estimated backlog of deferred maintenance identified by state agencies and done over 5 years. Deferred maintenance in the state facilities is not our only infrastructure issue. The state's natural resources are also in need of healing, the need of their own repair maintenance and long-term support. To that end, this budget sets aside $376 million to the Department of Land and Natural Resources for parks, ocean resources, aquatics, forestry, and wildlife. The goal is not to spend the money right away, but to strategically invest and take care of these projects to ensure that the state gets the best value. Although this budget does not include the initiatives identified in February 13th and March 10th requests to the legislature, there are recurring needs that we need to address before sine die. All this comes down to a matter of balance of recurring and non-recurring costs. And we must have a sustainable plan that includes a budget that can withstand economic shock and that we do not make decisions that will hurt people. House Bill 300 HD1 is only the first step, Mr. Speaker. We still have a lot of work to do before we can develop a sustainable budget for all our needs. It is going to be a very, very long next 2 months as we work through this. I urge everyone to support this measure. Thank you.
Representative Nishimoto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's see. Wow. Finance Chair giving a 20-minute speech. Now I've seen it all. Let me start by thanking you, Mr. Speaker, and the members of this body for the opportunity to work on grant and CIP. It's a job I do not take lightly. It's a responsibility I do not take lightly, and I thank you for that responsibility. I want to thank the Finance Chair for his guidance. He did CIP for a long time, and he's been a guiding force throughout this process for me, and I really want to thank him for that. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my staff, Heath Williams, our CIP specialist in finance, who has made my job infinitely easier. And my staff, my CIP specialist and my staff, and I hope the LG is listening, she's the irreplaceable Taylor Date. Taylor, thank you for your work. Like the finance chair was saying, this is kind of a unique year. We had the Governor Ige's budget in January, and we've slowly gotten Governor Green's governor's messages trickle in. In fact, some have trickled in this week. So the CIP budget is kind of a mishmash of different administrations' budgets, but one overarching factor that we did use as our guiding principle was health and welfare. So if it had to do with health and welfare projects in our communities, it was more likely to get funded. And the second guiding principle is I believe that our members have they know the word on the street, they got their ear to what's going on in their communities, and we took their requests very seriously. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of the budget, but with some macroeconomic reservations and some concerns, therefore, with reservations, sir.
Please proceed.
First, before I give my reservations on the macroeconomic level, I want to thank the chair for his comments and his feet on the ground reality. There was not a spinmeister at all in that budget. I appreciate the comment about saying the glamour of spending is great. That's a memorable statement. Admitting that, in fact, we got bailed out, Mr. Speaker, by $2.6 billion. I mean, that's where this glut has come from. That has saved us a lot of time and a lot of trouble. So with the surplus, we go into and this is where my concern is. It's not that you guys have a great team. You guys have done a great job. My concern is what's going out there in terms of the unknown. These are the macroeconomics that I'm concerned with. One of the biggest things is, guys, you know what happened with the Bank of Silicon Valley. You know what happened then with the Signature Bank. And then you know what happened with the Bank Suisse. And there's rumors of Deutsche Bank and other things. And Moody's just recently downgraded the banking industry from stable to negative. That's the banking system of our country, colleagues. Stable to negative, our banking system. My point is, look, if we've got a budget that is $20 billion, and I appreciate, Speaker, the historic growth that it has experienced, if we've got an environment that is bigger than who we are in our little Hawaii economy, we may be spending too much too quickly, Mr. Speaker. My point is, and I think the finance chair did say, we have to be cautious. We have to remember that these things that are going on beyond us, we have no control. And the biggest important thing I haven't even mentioned is the recession that some people are saying, particularly the Moody's, that we're going to go into recession later on in this year. So if we get a recession, we get a bank failure or more failures where confidence is lacking, Mr. Speaker, we could be in trouble. So I commend the finance chair, I commend the budget, it's a good budget, but it's assuming that everything out there is stable and everything is going to be, well, we went down 2% from the Council on Revenues. We only got hit by $2 billion. But it could be worse, Mr. Speaker. The point is the signs of the times are, let's be cautious. The signs of the banking industry is, hey guys, let's kind of hold our powder until we really know where we are. So I hope as the chair of the Finance Committee, we will be constrained in our funding and we will be able to get through this as we did with COVID and other challenges that we've had to this body. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Quinlan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and strong support.
Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, in this budget, there is money for our new comprehensive statewide reservation system for our state parks, our trails, and our public resources. And this is so important, Mr. Speaker. There are some things that we need to accomplish, that we must accomplish with this system. And first and foremost, we have to set expectations for the visitor. We have to make sure that the visitor knows how to be culturally sensitive and how to malama the aina. Another component of this, Mr. Speaker, is that we have to crack down on illegal commercial activity at our state parks and at our public resources, as well as some unscrupulous operators, while also making sure that everyone pays their fair share when they use these public resources. And third, Mr. Speaker, we have to raise the sufficient dollar revenue to take care of these resources, to protect them for future generations. Mahalo.
Representative Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise with reservations.
Please proceed.
Thank you. I agree with about 70% of the state budget that's being proposed, but the reality is government is getting richer and the people are getting poorer. There's lots of good in this budget, but there's also lots of wasteful spending in this budget. We have lots of big issues to focus on here in Hawaii, but instead climate change meets one of the biggest priorities. And once again, there are bigger issues to focus on than pandering to the globalist elites. Thank you.
Representative Holt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and strong support.
Please proceed.
First, I'd like to thank the Finance Chair and all of the staff and everybody who contributed to crafting this budget. I know how hard you guys worked, the long hours you guys put in, and I definitely appreciate all of that work. Mr. Speaker, thanks to your leadership and the leadership of the Majority Leader, this year we crafted a majority package which kind of serves as our roadmap, which focuses on many different areas, including the Earned Income Tax Credit. We're well aware of the high cost of living we all face here in Paradise, and in a time where these costs are skyrocketing more than ever, the price of goods and services have been going up daily. We here in the House hope to provide some financial relief to Hawaii's working families. And with House Bill 954, which is included in part of our budget, we aim to increase the Earned Income Tax Credit for our working families. Mr. Speaker, prior to our actions as a legislature at the end of last session, where we made the EITC permanent and refundable, the state EITC was non-refundable, which meant families did not reap the full benefits of this credit. We changed that, and building on that momentum, this year we have carved out funds to increase the amount and further assist our struggling families. This bill is a lifeline to working families in these tough economic times. It gives low to moderate income taxpayers a tax cut and puts money back in the pockets of the lowest income people who owe little to nothing in taxes. The Earned Income Tax Credit provides larger benefit to taxpayers with children in their households and ensures that the people who need the most help receive the most benefit. It also helps local people who are struggling to afford the rising cost of housing, food, healthcare, and transportation that we all face every day. This bill helps working families keep more of what they earn, and by lifting up lowest income families who need the most help, we will lift up all communities and the state of Hawaii out of our economic insecurity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Lowen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In support.
Please proceed.
Thank you. And first of all, also mahalo to the Finance Chair, Vice Chair, the CIP Chair, and all of the staff. The House draft of the budget includes $300 million to fund a low-interest loan program within the Hawaii Green Infrastructure Authority for low and moderate income families at or below 140% area median income for the purchase and installation of residential renewable energy systems like solar plus storage systems. With 44% of Hawaii's families classified as asset-limited, income-constrained employed or ALICE families, this will increase access to affordable energy within these underserved communities, increase resilience, lower electric bills, create green jobs, and keep dollars in Hawaii's local economy and reduce the state's dependence on imported fossil fuels. This program will bring more equity to Hawaii's renewable energy transition, making rooftop solar plus storage systems attainable for more households. Hawaii's ALICE families stand to benefit the most from the long-term savings and lower utility bills associated with renewable energy systems, and this bill will open up, and this funding will open up new pathways to make this financially possible for all of Hawaii's working families. The funding included in the House draft of the budget will capitalize this program and enable it to be self-sustaining and to help people for many years to come.
Representative Martin.
Thank you. In strong support.
Please proceed.
I also wanted to thank the Finance Chair and the Majority Caucus for not forgetting our most vulnerable population. This budget includes in it a program, a pilot program for child and adolescent crisis outreach team, both on Oahu and on a neighbor island, that will promote safety for children where they are, in their homes, their schools, community settings, by responding immediately when a crisis arises, and also to continue to provide services for 8 weeks to stabilize the situation and help the family or caregivers, as well as the child, transition to long-term help. This program will allow more children to stay in their homes, whether it be a birth family, resource caregivers, or other guardians, rather than be transferred to age-appropriate acute psychiatric hospital beds or other out-of-home placements, which are both in short supply and are much more expensive. Similar programs have been tested on the mainland, and they have been found to be cost-effective and also to help set kids on a path where they won't need these kinds of services as adults. Thank you very much.
Representative Hashimoto.
Thank you, Speaker. Strong support.
Please proceed.
As we all know, housing is a big crisis in our state, and I think it's been the buzzword this legislative session. And I think this budget does include $150 million into investments into housing. And I think this is the first step of making sure that we keep the pipeline of creating affordable housing all throughout Hawaii going. It's going to be incredibly difficult over these next couple of years with rising interest rates to make projects pencil out. But I believe the state remains committed in making sure that we do our part to ensure that houses are being built that are actually affordable to our communities. $75 million will go into the Rental Housing Revolving Fund, which will subsidize 60% AMI and below housing. And we also have a $75 million infusion into the Dwelling Unit Revolving Fund, which will help for sale construction. It can help to purchase infrastructure and develop infrastructure, purchase land to develop future affordable housing. So I think this is just the first step. We have bills in the majority package that continues to move. I think this number is just an initial investment that we show that we can remain committed as the bills continue to move. I expect that this number will increase as we get to closer to the end of session. But just know that we know that this is an issue. We know that everyone in this chamber wants housing to be built and become affordable for all people of Hawaii. And I believe that this is a great first step. Thank you, Speaker.
Representative Perrick.
In opposition.
Please proceed.
I'd like to thank the finance chair and his team for crafting a budget that would help some. And so for that, I say thank you. But there are some matters that do not help the state. In my district of Ewa Beach and Waipahu, I have some of the poorest of the poor in the state. And it's those people that I'm trying to advocate to have their taxes decreased and have the wages of the elite in Hawaii decrease. It should be noted that the governor makes $184,000. It's in this bill. That's the budget. The lieutenant governor makes $183,000 every year. Department directors make $175,000 every single year, and that's what we're voting on. And I'm voting no on this measure because I believe that the constituents in my district shouldn't be paying such high taxes on such high salaries for people that should be public servants. This bill also gives at least $130 million to the University of Hawaii. So why should hotel room service attendants, janitors, security guards, waitresses, cashiers, truck drivers, and tree trimmers, why should they be paying taxes on a public university? There's many private universities in Hawaii, to include Chaminade University, Inspire University, Hawaii Pacific University, and the World Medicine Institute. These universities are supplied by the private sector, and they're equipping our next generation to be mobilized, to be economy improvers, to be people that help our society, and it doesn't require tax dollars. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there further discussion, members? Representative Ward.
Speaker, I failed to mention one very, very important.
You're still in support.
Yes, still in support with the reservations. One of the very, very important things that were mentioned in the committee report is the reference to performance-based budgeting. Performance-based budgeting, which in the long run is how we give money and then we accomplish goals. And Mr. Speaker, we've tried to do that for many, many years, and I really commend the chair for thinking about it, hopefully implementing it, and making sure that we do give money to a department. In effect, the goals and the accomplishments are with that and measurable. Thank you.
Is there further discussion, members? If not, we'll take the vote. Representative Perrick.
I just want in opposition.
Please proceed.
I just also wanted to note that according to the Tax Foundation, we're ranked 43 when it comes to taxes. So I think it's another note to make that our budget of $22 billion is too high.
All right, members, we'll take the vote. Representative Morikawa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the measure before us, all majority members vote aye.
Representative Garcia.
On the measures before us, all minority members vote aye, with the exception of the following. On House Bill number 300, House Draft 1, Rep. Pirrick votes no.
Members, have all votes been cast? If so, said measure passes third reading. Item 8, are there any announcements? Representative Alcos.
I'm just reminding that we have lunch up on 402 with Jocelyn, Pastor Jocelyn, New Life Church. So right after this, don't forget, we get lunch. Thank you.
Are there further announcements? If not, for the motion to adjourn, Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this House stand adjourned until 12 o'clock noon tomorrow.
Representative Garcia.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion is carried. The House stands adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow.